if you're going to talk about greed and people doing, really amazing work and then maybe going the wrong way in their later career, I think you got to mention Steven Greer a little bit. A lot of people
maybe
point
a little
fingers. Yeah, a lot
I
of
tend
people
to
point
disagree.
fingers at him and call him a shill. They say he's a government agent spreading misinformation, even though he points fingers at Tom DeLonge and says, no, if you want to look at a government shill misinformation, look over there. And
to be fair, Tom DeLonge seems to have come into the UFO arena very unusually, and seems like he could have been more of a shill and be some kind of disinformation guy, whereas Dr. Steven Greer has dedicated the whole of his life to it and gave up his career as a doctor to do so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, 20 years ago now, he did the Disclosure Project, and he was really a driving force behind the Disclosure Project. And I would still argue that's probably the greatest and most important event in UFO
history, pretty
much. Really. I mean, if you take out the actual events like Phoenix Lights and Roswell and all this sort of thing, as an actual pushing for the truth, it doesn't get any bigger than that.
And the chronology is interesting as well, isn't it? When that was May 2001, and then think about the major world event that was perhaps sped up that happened in September 2001 because they needed some kind of mass distraction.
Wow, you actually think 9/11 happened just because of the Disclosure Project?
No,
that's a push.
I think that it could have been. I think that the plans could have been sped up.
Okay.
Because of the Disclosure Project to try and dampen its influence. It was the Disclosure Project was the press office's most viewed event ever.
Yeah. Could you imagine if that happened like maybe 10 years later when the internet was, more, actually becoming established or what have you? That would have been, that would have been insane. We'd have, that would have been an event like no other. And it was, as amazing as it was. But if we look at the more negative side of Greer, though, before we're going to do a proper video on CE5 and his work on that, because I know you're more a passionate believer in that subject than I am, but I will honestly put my hand up and say I don't quite understand it, but I'm learning about it.
Think of your brain as like a radio transmitter receiver, and think about by meditating and using your pineal gland that you can communicate using it as a radio transmitter or receiver with other beings in the universe that also have conscious brains that are also acting as transmitter receivers. If you think of it more like that, that's how I'd explain it.
I can think of it like that, but I could say, I don't know, that this coffee mug is a radio transceiver, and I can speak to ghosts through it. And if you think of it like that, if you think of it like a radio transceiver, then I can talk to ghosts through it. Then that's how you think about it. It's not, though, because it's a coffee mug. My brain is my brain.
You understand a lot more about the coffee mug and what it's made of and its construction than we do about the human brain.
Oh, yeah. I did a psychology degree, mate. I reckon we understand about 20% of the brain, so we don't understand 80%. And the problem is we've got no idea how the 80% works. We don't even have an idea. We're sort of just blindly in a dark room going, what's this over here? We don't know how the brain works. And there is weird stuff about the brain that on a quantum level that's worth having a chat about, and we will. But we'll move into that next week.
I like to think of the pineal gland as perhaps acting as the antenna for the brain in order to communicate over the vast distances of the cosmos.
And you get into things like, someone will say that's impossible. There's no thing for that. And like we always say on this channel, quantum entanglement is witchcraft. It's evil. And once you start understanding that that's a thing, nothing is impossible. Nothing. And is it possible that we could be quantumly entangled with each other and some sort of psychic ability is possible? And that means communication over vast distances is possible instantly? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't like to remove the possibility, at least.
No. But there are some stuff with Greer that we'll talk about today because we're talking about greed, blah, blah, blah. Right. So his net worth between $3.5 and $5 million apparently, but that is going to be, again, a bit like Alex Jones. It's definitely a low figure because he owns significant bonds and stock He owns. He's very involved in several businesses and things, so his actual income might be quite significant. But his net worth, 3.5 to 5 million. I was actually quite surprised by that. Again, I thought that was quite low. Because you hear stories about him charging thousands of dollars to do these, when he takes people off into the desert and does these C5 evenings. I've actually found his next big event, and a lot of it's going to be virtual. So you can actually join through the internet from around the world, and you can get a virtual pass. It's $200. I went to a virtual comedy show though, and it cost us £30, and it was crap. It was terrible. But it's cost that much because they cost quite a lot to set up.
Yeah.
So I don't think you've got quite a lot of build up. Yeah. And you can do the VIP pass where you actually get to go. You can go and you go with Greer into the desert stuff. That's $500. And I'm like,
if it wasn't for COVID and not knowing how 2021 is going to play out, we could. I suppose it'd be interesting to go on the CE5 experience, but I just don't know how easy it's going to be to fly to America in this year, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be easy to swim, mate, to America, I think. There's also a lot of alleged stuff with like people being forced to sign NDAs when they've done non-disclosure agreements, and allegedly. Again, though, I can't. If he's done that in the past, I can't find any evidence of him doing that at the moment. Because with this thing with the next one that's coming up soon, I went as far as nearly buying a ticket just to see. I got as far as like the money bit. I wasn't actually going to pay, but I mean,
your card details in.
Yeah, just get to that point, and at no point were there any disclosures or anything I had to tick to say I will do this or nothing. So to be honest, if I bought a ticket and then they hit me with a non-disclosure agreement, I'll be telling them to stick that ticket up their backsides. But there was nothing I could see in the small print that would suggest that I was going to have to sign any sort of NDA. But I don't know that he hasn't done that before.
Well, it's possible. I mean, given that he spent his career going down the dark rabbit hole that is the UFO phenomenon, and the dark agencies and practices that he's come up against of those agencies, I'm not surprised that he perhaps wants to protect his source of income with an NDA, given how much he's in the limelight in the UFO arena. Do you know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that he's kind of found out that the CIA and the NSA have probably been up to for a very long time.
When he talks about CE5, he does talk about when he started to develop this technique that the intelligence services were very interested very quickly. So maybe those NDAs and things initially were a way of trying to protect himself.
Yeah, maybe that the CIA or whatever it got to him and said, you got to do this, otherwise we're going to do this to you. And maybe that something like that, or maybe it was just from his experience he decided. But if there's no evidence that he's getting maybe this is just hearsay and conjecture from. I
think there are a lot of people that really dislike him is the problem, and that really don't like his attitude, don't like the way he is. They're all muscle bound and all that sort of thing, and he looks like a bit of an, I don't know. When you see him talk, he's very thing and stuff. I mean, I've seen parts of his videos, his new films, where he gets really upset and he starts. The one bit he's talking about survivor's guilt and he's crying his eyes out, and because he's saying he knows people that have lost their lives because of this, through taking their own lives or potentially being bumped off, and he has survivor's guilt. He's the one that is still with us, sort of thing. If that's genuine, then great. If that's not genuine, then he's there's something wrong with him mentally.
Yeah, he's a hell of an actor.
Or he's just a great actor and he's a con man.
And I just don't think that. I don't know. I just think that
hard to watch.
Dedicate his whole life to it. The UFO Disclosure Project, the serious documentary about the little 6-inch humanoid they found out in the Atacama Desert that Stanford University analysed and concluded that it had a human mother, but a father of unknown origin, which is quite an astounding conclusion. Then the fact that it's an acknowledged video that details the whole of his career, and the fact that he's been doing this for 20 to 30 years. If he was just in it for greed and to make a quick buck off of it, I mean, also if he's worth, like you said, 3.5 to 5 million, if he'd stayed in his original career as a practicing,
An MD.
was he MD? He would have been earning what, $100,000 a year probably as an
Something
MD.
like that, yeah.
Anyway, it's not like this is going to be much more lucrative than the career path that he'd already set himself out on. So
I would actually say that the initial project, even the disclosure project, would have potentially been expensive, not profitable.
Yeah.
I can imagine setting that up and getting all those people there, and all of it. A lot of those people would have gone, well, I want my expenses paid for and things. Chances are, it probably would have been a horrendously expensive thing to put on.
Yeah, it was 300 or 400 people, the original disclosure project, and that's now expanded to thousands of people that have given their testimony to him.
Yeah, and it's not like it was, again, on an internet thing where you can do it pay-per-view, which would happen now. You say, well, we've got this disclosure project, we're going to run it on thing, but you've got to register to watch it, sort of thing, or something, just to cover the costs, if nothing else. He'd have had to. I don't know where the money came from for that project, but I can't imagine he'd made anything off it.
No.
But that is, again, his good work in the past. I'm not as convinced by some of his work more recently. I did a Marilyn Monroe video recently talking about the documents that he released and talking about the suggestion that Marilyn Monroe was potentially murdered by the government because of what she knew about the UFO secrets.
She was saying she was going to arrange a press conference to reveal it all, because they blanked her, didn't they? Apparently, the Kennedy brothers, they started blanking her at one point and pushed her out.
Probably they realised they were both diddling her.
And I think,
we might need to push this woman out.
Yeah, we need to stop this, otherwise it's going to look really bad. Supposedly it was all
exactly.
They said that it would make the Kennedy's pledge to get astronauts to get people to the moon by the end of the decade. They thought that if it came out that they'd both been sleeping with Marilyn, that it would tarnish that objective as well.
And then within a year, JFK was as well. I'm watching him deliver all this information. He's got this document that proves Marilyn was murdered. It mentions something about something to do with space, or something come from space, and he goes, well, that's aliens. And I was thinking, this is the height of the Cold War, during whether we're in a space race with Russia and losing. That could mean lots of different things potentially. It doesn't necessarily mean aliens. But also, he then says, I got this document from this person. I'm not going to tell you who that person was, but then I'm going to go and give you lots of information. So anybody from the intelligence services will know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just not going to tell you. It doesn't make sense. He says, I've got these other documents in my vault that I'm not going to share with, that I can't share with you for this, and this reason. I'm like, no, he just frustrates me a lot of the times when he says, right, this person come to me, and I'm not going to tell you who they were, but I'm quoting blah, 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 blah. Tell me who it was then. Why?
I don't know.
Why
he might do that occasionally with people that want to protect themselves, and have said, I'll give you the information, but I'm not willing to let you disclose me as your source because I don't want my family to have the repercussions from the American state.
Yeah, but you then don't give them a load of details so that you could identify that person if you wanted to.
No,
or at the very least, people. He says, I got this information from this person who was the aide, and then he names like a general or something. How hard would it be to find out who that person was? Intelligence services.
Yeah, it's not a great. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, but wasn't the document that was released about Marilyn Monroe an official document that's available online anyway?
That's it. No,
is it not?
Yeah, it's only available online because he's released it. He says it's official document. He says somebody came that knew what they were on about and officially said, I without actually. The one bloke says without actually touching it and getting it out and thing, I can tell you 95% of chances are that's genuine. But we don't know who this person is that's authenticating it, and we don't know what it is he's using to authenticate it. What is it about that document that he is saying is authentic? So my point is, we're having to take Steven Greer's word for a lot, and I don't like that. It frustrates me.
Okay, I get that, and I do get that frustration if you're having to take his word for a lot of the stuff and the evidence isn't available from another source. It's like, oh, here, read this. This tells you how it all happened. Oh, by the way, no one else knows about this document or can verify it, but this, okay.
And it's true. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
However, conversely to that, I do think he does seem like a genuine person whenever I've seen Dr. Greer in anything I've ever seen him in the last 20 years. I've never once looked at him and thought, well, there's a lying con man. Like, by the way he conducts himself.
Yeah.
He just doesn't come across like that.
He comes across to me as somebody who has a bit of an ego, and who likes being stood up talking in front of people. And actually, that's a bit unfair. Sometimes he comes across as somebody with a massive ego that really likes talking in front of people, and sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he comes over quite almost like nervous, or shy or something. But sometimes he comes over as an ego, and he talks about himself in quite grand ways. Sometimes he talks about himself in the same breath as presidents, and there's this bit when he talks about I'm a nobody, but it's like a I'm trying to think of the way to put it. It's actually about I'm a nobody, and I can talk about this, but the president can't, because he'll go the same way as JFK. So Obama can't talk about this because he'll go the same way as JFK, but I can. And it just comes to us as like an underhanded ego trip to me. It's just like he's there saying I'm not important, but what he's really saying is I'm hugely important.
Well, yeah,
that's what it comes across as.
It maybe a little bit. Maybe there is a little bit of arrogance there, but maybe because of how compartmentalized the American government is, and how the president isn't read into a lot of these black budget military programs out of Area 51 that have really been reverse engineering the alien tech since the crashes in the 40s, like Roswell, and have the real reverse engineered alien tech, and that they're the ones that really hold all the power. This is the situation, isn't it, in America today? The military industrial complex dictates to the government when and who it goes to war with, because it wants to make more money.
Yeah, really true. Yeah.
So I think Greer is more likely to know more than any sitting president on this, because he spent his entire career researching into it, speaking to people, getting statements, talking about events that people have witnessed. He is a knowledge base for this particular. Who better than him? Who knows more than him about the whole topic of UFOs?
Well, he says nobody. A lot of that, we have to take his word for it, though.
But if you look at his career history,
yep.
Can you cite anybody else that spent nearly as much of the last 20 to 30 years involved in UFOs to the extent he's been involved?
No, there's very few, and even the ones that maybe have the ones people that have worked with him.
Yes.
I suppose you can go to Lear or people like that, maybe, that have put as much effort in, or Bigelow, that have put as much effort and money into the subject.
But put a lot of time, hasn't he, going into the UFO conferences and speaking about himself as well. Or you could maybe say, I'm trying to think who else there is. There's a few people, but they tend to be in that same circle, and they're probably friends with Greer and attend the same events and do talks at the same events, I imagine.
We talk about that. One of the things Greer says a lot, though, is that he's briefed presidents. Right. So I looked into that. I can only find proof that he's actually briefed one president, and he didn't brief the president. Let's see. He always says that, and I don't think he's lying when he says he briefs presidents. But he's not maybe telling you the whole story. What he has done is briefed people that then brief the president. He's never sat in front of a president and talked about aliens. And I think he'd be honest about that. He said, but I think, is that like shorthand, though, when he says he does that? I think that's what he means.
Yeah, he's definitely met with important people that have a direct line into CIA directors and other people of that nature.
The one I can find evidence of is, yes, exactly. He met with a CIA director, and did brief that was then briefed to the president, President Clinton. He says he's briefed every president since Clinton. I can't find any evidence of that.
Yeah, but can you find any evidence of the president going to the Bilderberg group meetings?
Oh, no. I don't think the president does go very often to Bilderberg meetings.
Yes, he goes every year.
I don't think he does. I think people go for him.
No. The sitting American president goes every year. It's just his diary's cleared out every year. It's just a free weekend. He's not there officially.
It's a nice weekend.
But he's there. Same with the Queen. Same with most of the remaining royalty of Europe.
Yeah.
I
know the 1 year Charles definitely went. I don't think the Queen went that year, but Charles definitely went. Our Prime Minister doesn't always go, but has gone. But if the Prime Minister doesn't go, somebody from the cabinet tends to go. It's.
But if you check the official story and the official diaries of the people, that no, they didn't go.
So back to Greer really quickly. So there's no evidence that he's briefed presidents since Clinton that we know about. He says he has done. But again,
would you want to admit to it if you were the sitting president and you thought that JFK might have been off for trying to look into that topic?
I wouldn't want to from a political reason anyway, because it makes me look like an idiot.
Well, it also makes you look like maybe you're a conspiracy nut as well.
I mean, I think it shows weakness as well. That I'm the president and I have to get Dr. Steven Greer to come and tell me about something that I should really be able to investigate and know anyway. So I think if he had done, I wouldn't want anyone to know. If I was Trump, if I was George Bush or anyone, I would not want anyone to know that I was affected in it or that I needed him to come and tell me something. So what do you think then? Is he a man that's got greedy? Or
not really,
is he got greedy for fame?
No, not particularly.
He's just desperately trying to get the story out, I think.
I think he's just passionate about the subject. I don't think you could have the longevity in UFO research that he's had without a genuine, real interest and perhaps a real, genuine, disgust at the fact that the public have been kept in the dark for so long.
Yeah. And within our community, our UFO community, we have dark parts of it. We have people that hate just for the sake of hating. We have people that are jealous. We have people that people seem to attack Greer for the sake of attacking. I think some people do that, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% convinced, and he frustrates me. But like you said, he's maybe the top of the tree. So it makes him an easy target.
But he's trying to do it from all different... I mean, you think about the angles. He's come from the UFO Disclosure Project. Then he's got involved with that little 6 to 8 inch tall humanoid skeletal structure that, someone found in the Atacama Desert that was relatively well preserved. He's trying, and he's got Stanford University involved in doing DNA. And if he was trying to dupe people, would he go to one of the most renowned universities in America and ask them to do DNA analysis on that body?
He definitely seems to try to do it right, at least. He's trying to do it right, isn't he?
And he's trying to get actual physical scientific evidence for stuff. 400 witnesses in the Disclosure Project, now several thousand, all with their own stories, all willing to testify in front of Congress. Like he's going down the route of getting the evidence. And I just don't think if you're a complete shill, you'd pursue that so heavily.
If he is a shill, he's putting himself out there, isn't he, and bringing other people in. He's not just standing up like some do, going, "This is what I think," blah blah blah, shouting maybe loudly like Alex Jones would. No. He is actually there going, right, this person knows this person said that, this is where the evidence is.
He's emotional about the topic because it's had a big impact on his life, but he doesn't very often let that emotion show through. Occasionally he gets a bit sad, a bit teary, but he never gets aggressive, trying to, like Alex Jones, does he, trying to force information on people. He just presents it and go make your own mind up.
Maybe he's just got a little bit more political savvy than Alex Jones has got.
Yeah, I think
maybe he's just got a bit more sense.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Cool.
While we are talking about Greer and his finances, I just wanted to add this little bit I found on another fellow YouTuber's video, the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Now he's talking about the Twitter account of a Tim McMillan. Tim McMillan went out and got all of the tax returns from the SETI Institute, a now defunct part of Steven Greer's business. He found that the SETI Institute was set up as a non-profit organisation, which seems really good on the surface. Greer was looking not to make profit, but to get the story out there. Unfortunately, when he started to dig a little deeper, he found out there was a little bit more to it than that. Each different type of company has different tax laws accredited to it, and in this case there is a tax shielding, similar in lots of ways to a charity. So, during its life, the SETI Institute took in $2.2 million. At least 1/3 of that $2.2 million was donated as a lump sum or as a gift by an unidentified person. That unidentified person, according to Bigelow, who Tim McMillan asked about this money, said that that money came directly from Steven Greer himself. So why would he do that? Why would he put his own money into this organisation? As part of the SETI organisation, well, there is a little bit more to it. $344,000 was taken in by the business as fees when they were offering these workshops and CE5 experiences. From that $344,000, the tax return shows that the actual cost of setting up those workshops was actually $31,000. That's a 900% profit. So where, we ask, did that other $310,000 go? Well, a large chunk of that actually went to Steven Greer himself, as he paid himself wages, which is only fair. Another big chunk of that money, though, went to a business called Crossing Point. Now, Crossing Point is basically a business management organization, a business management that is also now defunct, like SETI. So what is the interesting point about this Crossing Point? Who are they? Well, they're a business that seems to only have one employee, the owner, Steven Greer himself. Now, that is a profitable organization. They're allowed to make profit, and they're based in Nevada. So Steven Greer had created these two companies. He put his money into one that paid the other. Both were paying him. Why would he do this? Well, it's called tax avoidance. Now, we have to very quickly say that tax avoidance is not illegal. It is simply doing what we would all do, is setting up a way of paying less tax. And there is not a single person watching this video that can say that if they could get away with paying less tax, they would do it, because of course they would. Now, tax evasion is illegal. Now, tax evasion is different. That's illegal. That's when you lie to the IRS to get away with paying less tax. Tax avoidance is using the tax laws to perfectly legally pay less tax. Is any of this a problem? Like I said, it's not illegal, but it is slightly immoral. When you set up a company as a non-profit, very similar in lots of ways to a charity, and you then suck money out of that so that you can personally avoid tax, I don't consider that to be a particularly moral thing to do. But I will emphasize, completely legal.
So, I mean,
and then
that's one thing in that video that Steven, one of his other brothers died as well, in a car crash.
No, plane, wasn't it? Plane crash, wasn't it? His brother messaged him, I think.
No, not Robert. Who was it? Was it Teddy? Oh no, Teddy Kennedy was making some noise and he had a car accident, and then he went very quiet after that. I think that's right. I might have to edit this out because I'm not sure it's true.
Yeah,
I might be making stuff up.
Not sure. I'm pretty sure his brother died in a plane crash.
Robert Kennedy. Oh no, it was right. Rob was shot, wasn't he? Robert Kennedy was shot. JFK was shot. JFK was obviously shot. Are you thinking about his son, JFK Jr. died in a plane crash?
Oh, it might be. Yeah, sorry.
JFK Jr. died in a plane crash, but he's coming back. JFK Jr. is coming back though, following his plane crash, because Trump's not the real leader of QAnon. It's JFK Jr. is really the QAnon, and the whole Biden thing is a problem. Just thinking about how Robert Kennedy was shot. I'm sure he was shot.
Yeah, John F. Kennedy Jr. plane crash. I've forgotten how did his brother die? Yeah, Robert Kennedy assassinated. Yeah.
He was shot. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, it was his son.
There you go.
The plane
Live.
I was getting. I don't know why I thought it was. I don't know what I was.
Yeah, no, JFK Jr. plane crash. Boom, done.
Edit that out.
I'll edit it cleverly so that it looks like we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Right. So,